This is the first time I've done a blog in a while. I've been busy with other projects. But I've seen some new pictures. Well, old pictures, but old pictures with information about them. And I've seen this picture going around, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I've just been, yeah, the rumors are true. That's the Riddler. This guy is going to be the Riddler. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I saw the cast from the Batman, I was like, Robert Pattinson. But now the thing is, like, does this man look like Ben Affleck? No. But he's a good actor, so maybe we'll see what he can do with it. You know, I don't think he can do it as well as Ben Affleck, but we'll see what he can do. Zoe Kravitz, I can't say I know a lot about her as an actress, so time will tell. When I saw Paul Dano as the Riddler, I was like, if we compare this guy to the guy from Gotham, skinny nerd, you know, who looks like he can definitely use his brains more than his brawn, that makes sense. I see that, and I was expecting we're going to put this dude in a green suit, you know, this is going to make sense. And then I see the picture that we get shown, and I don't know who that is, it looks like Hush to me. And then they tell me that that's the Riddler, and I'm just like, what the hell is Matt Reeves thinking? And I've looked, I've Googled, and I've tried to find every plausible version of the Riddler, and it doesn't look like any of them. It's not like he's found some really obscure comic book that I've not read. I mean, because I've not read a lot of comic books. I have a small collection. And he's got, like, you know, pulled one out of that I can go and this. I'm doing this one from 1987 or something. It's not even like that. It's just he's made up some cock and bull story behind him. I've looked at every weird version, and I say every weird. There's not many weird versions of him. I mean, the only weird versions are the one from the Batman cartoon, which is clearly nothing like this one. But the point of the character was the same. This one's more murderous, I think. I think this one, I heard that he was going to be kind of like a sort of Zodiac killer kind of vibe, which sounds cool for any other character. But the Riddler, it's not really about murder. It'd rather Batman was smart enough to avoid the murders, I think. The Riddler from the Hush animated film, that was kind of weird. Like, that was, but it's not the same. I had bad feelings about this film. I mean, I've got a couple of friends who think, oh, it's going to be a fresh take. I don't want a fresh take. I want a Batman movie that feels like a Batman movie. Like, we had, like, Adam West was very cartoonish, and it was part of my childhood, and I loved it, but it's not The Dark Knight. Everything about the Michael Keaton films was perfect. You know, it wasn't like the world was at stake. It was only Gotham City at stake. But maybe that's only what needs to be at stake. Batman only really functions with Gotham unless he's with the Justice League. I thought that Batman Forever was a really good film. It was a little bit campy. And I think Gotham is a bit campy. Like, it's a weird town, you know. Like, what kind of people go around calling themselves Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, Scarecrow? You know, it's a weird town. And I think it was the right level, and it was like, he's a tortured soul, but it's still suitable for kids. We forget about Batman and Robin. We'll forget about that one. That one did suck. It was funny. It was like Adam West in a muscle suit, but it was bad, wasn't it? This is where we get the Dark Knight trilogy. You get good films, but they didn't feel like a Batman film. They felt like any other crime film, but there's a dude with pointy ears, you know? I thought Ben Affleck was actually the closest we got to a comic accurate Batman. They changed a few aspects. He shot a few people. The suit looked right. It was like, you couldn't get any closer to the Dark Knight Returns suit in Batman vs Superman unless you put underpants over his tights. That was literally any closer you would have been at that. And I was really happy. I was like, we finally got the right Batman. And I saw Robert Pattinson. I was like, yeah, it's a come down. I mean, he might do a good job, but it's a come down, isn't it? It's like, we finally get a guy who looks like he's 250 pounds. He's actually 6 foot. He's very rude. I don't know. I mean, I really wanted this to like this film. I think if you're going to sell this film to comic book fans who are fans of Batman, who are fans of the Riddler, you're going to sell this to the comic book fans, you're going to insult them, I think. And anyone who... Again, it could be a directorial masterpiece. I don't know. I have not seen it yet. But I'm like, it's like the Joker film. Don't get me wrong. It was an alright film. I didn't go a bundle on the Joker. But the thing is, it wasn't the same character. Like, you can't justify it. The only similarities between the two characters was the fact that his face looked like a clown and he wore a colourful suit. That's the only similarities you can actually pull between the two, really. You know, there was they really had to write some crap to fit Bruce Wayne into that film. You know, he was a sad man, and maybe the Joker is a sad clown underneath it all, but he's not that person, and they've just wrote a whole new character that has virtually zero relevance to the book, and they've sold it to DC fans in order to make that cinema money. And I think this is the same as what they're doing here. They've told us that the Riddler's going to be it. They've given us a good actor, you know, and I'm like, I was getting excited for that. I mean, I wasn't really getting excited for Batman, but I was getting excited for the Riddler. It's like, to be fair, what does look good, when they announced Colin Farrell was going to be Penguin, I was like, Colin Farrell, I like Colin Farrell. Good actor. I liked him. I actually liked him I liked Daredevil. That was a good film. I'm going to say it right now. You're going to hate me for that. I thought he was fun, but he was fun as Bullseye. He does villain fine. And I was like, we're going to make this guy look like this guy. And I was like, well, before I started, he's not fat. He's not that short. He's average height. I was like, the guy in Gotham did a great job and he wasn't fat, you know, so we should look at the actor, not what they look like. And I suppose we could say the same for the Riddler. And then I look at the prosthetics they put on Colin Farrell. You know, they turned him into the mayor from Gotham. That's what the Penguin looks like. You know, all he's missing is a top hat and a monocle. You know, so I suppose it's like they've given us that. They gave us that, and I suppose that's like, I was like, what the hell are you doing? I really want to like this film, but I think it's on. I wanted to like the Riddler. I wanted to like the Joker, but I didn't. And I know people going, oh, it's a good film. It raises a good point about mental health awareness, but I don't see it as a good comic book film. You know, they've not read any comic books to come to this conclusion. They've made it up, literally judging on looking at a picture of the character. And, they mentioned Bruce Wayne with some cock and ball story just to make it feel like the two characters are intertwined in some way. Which it could have done without. They could have waited to a sequel to that. You know, I feel like if you were going to make a film that's not about Batman, it's about the Joker, maybe just not mention the Wayne family at all. I mean, again, I'm not even saying... I mean, there's some good actors in this film. Don't get me wrong. Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. Let's be honest, he doesn't look like the character from the comic books, but I think he would do a good job. I can see it. You know, I mean, that being said, I think J.K. Simmons was perfect for the role in Justice League, and I really wish I'd kept... Well, I suppose they can't keep on every actor from Justice League if this isn't the same story, so it makes sense they'll change the actor and maybe go for someone outside the box, and he's pretty outside the box, but I think it's actually a decent cast choice. John Turturro as Falcone, that doesn't look like what I would think of as Falcone in my head, but he can be a creepy dude if he wanted to be. So I see it. I mean, they're not the only main character. It still says Joe Manganiello in the cast. I don't think he's going to be in it. I think there is going to be no ties to the Zack Snyder Batman. I mean, at least not until Flashpoint. Maybe then they'll try and do some weird intertwining, for lack of a better term, bullshit. I mean, like, we might get Michael Keaton as Batman in that. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I like that movie. That movie feels like a cartoonish Batman movie. You can do that shit fine. I don't know. I mean, Matt Reeves, I hope you know what you're doing, because I think the thing is, I think there are more... Batman has become something that it's cool to like now. You're not considered a nerd if you've seen The Dark Knight, which is a good thing, you know? I mean, I mean, I've never received one in my life, but I was raised in a time where you'd get a wedgie for liking Batman, you know. So I'm glad that we live in a time where Batman, it's cool to like Batman, it's cool to like the Avengers, you know, because they've become mainstream, you know. And I think more people like Batman than people who have read a Batman comic. So I think they're selling it to people who say, oh, well, that's clearly a Batman suit. It looks weird, but it's clearly a Batman suit, you know. And so people will come to see it just because it's a Batman movie, and they won't know any different, you know. And it's a shame. It's exactly the same as what they did with the Joker. And they're doing it with. Let's be honest, it's not. I say with the Dark. I think they did read a comic book when they did the Dark Knight. All the characters are there. They've all been changed. But I think in the Dark Knight, I think everybody was changed in a way to make the story flow better. So I can't argue with that. I mean, it didn't feel like a comic book movie, but I know what they knew what they were doing. This one, have they read a comic, or did they watch one episode of a cartoon and go, Batman, Riddler, Falcone, Penguin? I mean, they've not really. I don't think they've really scraped the barrel. They've not really dug into lore. I feel like there was a bit more lore digging in Batman v Superman, and there was a little bit in the Dark Knight. They really went for it. This one, it's like they've got 6 main characters, but they're recognisable. We can work with 6, and we'll just make up the rest, because no one's going to know any different. And I was like, well, what about those people who do? You know, I feel like the closest we've had to a film for Batman fans is either Michael Keaton or I think Batman v Superman. I mean, and Batman v Superman's controversial. I thought it was brilliant. But I felt they're only 2 films, well, 2 franchises, that I felt were for comic book fans. I think The Dark Knight was trying to sell it to non-comic book fans, and maybe that was a good thing to do, especially after Batman and Robin. Maybe that was a good idea at the time. But now it's at a time where people do like Batman again. Try and get them like Avengers. They don't stray too far from their source. But I mean, they change it. But I get that it's like The Dark Knight. They change it to a level where it makes the story flow better. That makes sense, because obviously you've got all of these unrelated comic books, and it's like, we're going to base it on this story here, but we want to include this character, so we need to sandwich this guy in, but make it one solid story. That makes sense. I get that, you know. And I was like, why not though? Like, why not just try and introduce non-comic book fans to comic books? That's where we're getting the inspiration from. That's where Batman came from. You know, I mean, I don't understand. I'm getting pretty ranty with this. I've been talking for 13 minutes, but I mean, what are you doing? I feel like if you give me money, I'll make you a Batman movie. It will look bad. It won't be good, but at least I'll have read a comic book to base it off. You know, I mean, I think Ben Affleck was going to direct it, and he was, I want to do a movie based on The Long Halloween. You do? That's a comic book. Why not do that? And then he didn't do it, which is a shame, because I thought he would be. I mean, he didn't think he was the man for a job. I think he was the man for the job. But you know what? I would have liked to have seen that movie. That would make sense. That's something I'd like to see as a live action film. I know they're doing an animated film of it, and it looks good. I want to see that. But imagine if that was Ben Affleck, and it was like, you know, that would be good. I'll say, imagine if it was Ben Affleck and Jared. I don't want to. Jared Leto. Put Jared Leto in the comic accurate suit, and give him a script that isn't weird. I mean, I know Joker's a weird character, but a script that feels like the Joker, I think he'll do a fine job. I want to see a Ben Affleck versus Jared Leto Batman movie. You know, and I reckon it would be good. It just needs to be written with respect. I mean, Tim Burton said he never read a comic book in his life, but I think he did write the film with respect. You know, it feels like a darker version of a Batman comic. All that was missing was a grey suit. Literally, that's the only thing that's the only hole I can stab in that film, and it's not even a big hole. It's not a hole. It's just different. You know, so do that again. You know, like it's screwing comic book fans out of my money, or people who don't know any better, and I think it's bad. I mean, don't if this movie comes out and it's brilliant, I will apologise and I'll eat my words. I just think that I think they're doing something that's like, do you have any right to put the name Batman on this movie just because you've put a guy in a Batman suit? You know, and comic book films have been inaccurate for a long time, and I've never really been upset by it because it's kind of, I've never really seen many that films I hate. You know, but I feel like this movie's just getting an awful lot wrong. I mean, it's got a couple of things right, but I think it's getting an awful lot wrong. I know a million people will disagree with me. That's fine. But, I mean, if you do agree with me, drop it in the comments. I'll probably reply. I've got nothing better to do. Tell me what you think. I mean, and if it's like, you're an idiot, tell me why I'm an idiot. No, we'll have a conversation about it. I'm out of words to say about it. I've said everything. So I have no further points to make. Let me know what you think.